Hi, Data Nation, and welcome to another episode of Data Tea. We're so excited to see you or hear from you. I'm your host, Lena Winfree.
And I'm Holly Rachel, and today on our entrepreneur interview series, we have a very special guest. His name is Paul Hickey. He is the CEO and founder of Data Driven Design, which is a marketing and advertising company here in Tennessee. So thank you so much, Paul, for joining us.
Yes, thank you, Paul.
Thanks, Holly and Lena. It's great to be on.
One thing that we want everyone to, what we'd like to ask you first is, for those who may not be familiar with data-driven design, would you please let us know a little bit about the history of the company and what services you all offer?
Absolutely. We are a digital marketing, web design and development, and custom software company geared around helping small business owners and small marketing teams. We are small and scrappy ourselves. We have 9 people that work full-time for us. And the data-driven piece really comes from wanting to differentiate ourselves from other web design and digital marketing agencies that don't necessarily make decisions based on data. Rather, they use their opinions and encourage their clients to use opinions rather than look at the data that's free and available, but is also a productivity piece, because when you're a small business or a small marketing team, your budget isn't huge. And when you're a digital agency, even if you bill by fixed fee projects, they tend to be based around how many hours it takes you to perform a project. Well, when you use data, you can get to the point quicker. You can get to the decision quicker, and you can save everybody time and money. And so the data-driven approach is really not just a differentiator for us in terms of building more effective websites and digital marketing strategies, but really a differentiator for us in terms of being able to have the cost of our projects and engagements be significantly less than other agencies because we're more efficient.
I totally agree with that. I think that a lot of our listeners can probably relate to that, being, entrepreneurs or small business owners. And honestly, probably 99% of the businesses in the country, since they are small businesses, that they can really identify with that as well. So what we wanted to talk about today is website design and SEO. Now, I know that it is super, super important to have a website. I mean, it's like 45% of small businesses don't have a website. So that's a problem in itself.
We actually have a podcast on it. Okay?
Yeah, that's in one of our previous episodes. But like, for those, when you go ahead and make that step, you're like, okay, gotta have a website. I've got it. And then we start hearing about SEO. People are not familiar with what it is. Is it super hard to do? Can you kind of enlighten us a little bit, for those of us who don't know exactly what SEO is? Can you kind of talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So SEO stands for search engine optimization. And while it encompasses several different subset tasks and items that you can implement, really what it means is, what can you do to rank high on Google for keywords that are relevant to your business, whether it's your business name, which we would call branded, or whether it's a non-branded phrase like a service you might provide or a product you might sell. And a combination of the two would still be considered branded because it would have your name in it. But they all can be equally important as it relates to your web presence, because the data says in our Google Analytics accounts that about 60 to 70% of web traffic on average comes from organic search, and about 97% of organic search is Google. And so search engine optimization is trying to rank high on Google.
Yeah, basically, because I mean, there's other search engines out there, but yeah, you're right. 97% is going to be Google. That's the one we want to concentrate on. So then, what are some? I know, like, Lena has read a lot of books about SEO. I, am not super versed in SEO, but I do know that it's important. But from a lot of times it seems extremely complicated. It seems like something that like a normal person cannot do. One time Lena was like, yeah, and I'm going to do something about metadata on the site. And I was like, what are you talking about? She was like, well, you got to right click and say view source code. And I did the right click. I clicked on view source code and I was like, oh no, oh no, I'm not looking at that. I was like, and I will be exiting this because it was super intimidating because I was like, I don't want to accidentally push a comma or put a space where there's like, no. I was like, let me get out of here immediately. So how do you talk to your clients about SEO to kind of like put them at ease about what's going to be happening and if they are equipped, I guess, to do any part of it, on their own or?
Yeah. So we try to demystify all of that. And you're right. It's metadata is a piece of like what we would call a SEO best practices checklist implementation. That's literally what we put in our proposals and what we talk to our clients about before they become clients. We say, okay, we're gonna do a core set of tasks that it's a best practices checklist. One of them is search engine titles. Another one is meta descriptions. Another one is schema, which is very similar. So those three items, when you bucket them all together, basically just mean you're putting keywords, you're writing keywords and descriptions in a way that lines up with the content that's on your pages, giving Google the information that their algorithm can crawl and their spiders can read within the source code. So you were right when you said right click view page source, because that's essentially what Google's spiders see. And so when you can optimize your web pages by going in and putting in the search engine titles, the meta descriptions, and the schema for each page on your website and make it unique on each page to have it line up with the actual content that's written on the page, Google is gonna line all of that up, and it's gonna check a bunch of boxes for them for a non-technical way of saying it.
Yeah.
And then another piece is Google Search Console. So I have a podcast called The Data Driven Daily Tip, and it's a little bit of a different format, but it's like me doing digital marketing and web design tips that are usually 5 minutes or less, and sharing my screen on the video version on the YouTube channel and showing everybody how to do different things. And one thing I talk a lot about is Google Search Console. So Google Search Console is a free tool. It integrates with Google Analytics. It integrates with Google Adwords and all the other Google tools that are free. But what its purpose is to basically let Google know that you've made these changes to your site. So I recently added probably 20 or 30 interior pages to our website, datadriven.design, and I took time writing copy about different services and things like that. And myself and people on my team, like Sonia, who helped me put in the search engine titles, the meta descriptions, and the schema on every single page. And then when you do that and then you submit the changes through Google Search Console, that's basically a way of saying, hey, Google, we've added this and the source code version of it to our website on these new pages. And then over time, you see your website and those new pages and the pages that you optimized via adding those meta descriptions and schema, hopefully rise to the top of the rankings. And so one last thought on that, just that way that we explain all that, but then we also show our clients what we're doing and we show them how to do it themselves, which is really helpful because in WordPress, which is a tool that we use to build about, I'd say 95% of our websites, you can use plugins that insert the ability to just easily type in the search engine titles, the meta descriptions, and the schema into the back end of the page so that you really don't have to do anything from a technical standpoint.
Oh, nice. So about how, now you said that it'll start, once you start putting in the correct keywords and the correct phrases, that your rankings will start rising. About how long does that take?
Yeah, it can vary. It's going to depend on what the competition is for those
Okay.
keywords. So I'll give you a good example. Web design Nashville has been historically a very competitive keyword, key phrase. And so it's going to take data-driven design longer to rise up the rankings on Google for those types of keywords. But Alexa skill developer, for example, which we also are, it isn't as competitive. And so I believe for our website and for our Nashville Voice Conference website, both of those rank on page 1 for those types of keywords already. And that was just a couple weeks ago when I built those pages on our site. Nice. So if you're looking at a term that there's not as much search volume and there's not as much competition for, you can really rise up quickly. And if you are looking at a term that's a lot more competitive, I mean, it can definitely take months or even years. So it can be days, weeks, months, years, depending on the competition.
Goodness. I like that. I think that that's a really good strategy of, not necessarily going after what are the most popular. Of course, you can add those as well, but pick some that are a little bit less popular so you're not competing against, like super huge companies, so like if you're doing, I don't know, a retail store or whatever like that, and you're doing coats, then maybe you don't want to be competing against like Burlington Coat Factory, right? Or, well, I guess they changed their name recently, so now it's just Burlington. But you don't want to. You have to think about what competition is in that I guess space, and then also incorporate some that are a little bit less popular, so that you can be at the top of those search pages.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's really easy to get, as you might imagine, to get caught up in all of that as a business or whether you're a service-based business or even just an e-commerce shop. Like we work a lot. I mentioned like 95% of the websites we build are in WordPress, and then like the 5% are usually Shopify, where they're clients that have been in Shopify and they don't have a budget to get out of Shopify, but they want us to kind of help them out. And so, yeah, it can be tricky when you're trying to like shoehorn together an SEO strategy versus like if you're starting something fresh and looking at what to sell maybe on a Shopify store or something like that. It would be a good idea to kind of look at what products don't have a lot of competition for keyword ranking, but that do have a higher volume of searches. And you can actually get that data from Google in the Google Adwords keyword planner tool. So that's another good source of getting that data. But there's a kind of a nice a couple nice things that I want to throw out there related to this conversation, because if you're really needing to outrank some people faster, we've found that Google AdWords Express for small businesses works really well for that. I've started using it a lot in 2016, and I've used it for the last, I guess, 4 years because it's worked. And so, for example, if you're a small business and let's say you're a print shop and you can do large format printing, you can do business, everything, as small as business cards to, huge banners or decals that would stick on trucks or buildings or something. Yeah. You can do everything in between. There's a lot of competition for those types of services as well. And the same can be for CPA firms or law firms or like service-based businesses that are okay driving phone call leads. Google AdWords Express is a great way to get to the top of Google through an ad, but not have to pay the rates of the normal Google Ads product, because the Google Ads product is a bidding situation, and you're going to need to bid on the top spot to get any kind of traction or conversions. But the top spot is usually going to be somewhere between $20 or even $100 per click, and that can blow through even a significant size budget really fast. Now, the Google AdWords Express product is basically remnant impressions, which means that as bidders bid on the top spot, They do it based on times of day, days of week, and they only have certain budgets, so they run out of their budget, and then the top spot becomes available. Google will take in certain locations these Google AdWords Express ads that any business can run, and they will show them in the top spot, and they'll show them on mobile devices and on desktop devices and on the Google search network and display network, which are all good places for small businesses to be. And so what we found is that like you can run a $500 a month ad, for example, and just a fixed price on an ad, and you can generate between 15 and maybe 30 phone calls off of that ad. And what we found is that those phone calls actually convert into clients. So that's a way to marry in maybe $500 a month and focus those around maybe higher competition, higher dollar keywords for your business while you're working on that organic SEO strategy and waiting for those months and years to pass before you get to the top of page one.
I feel like, I think that's awesome because honestly, I had not heard about that. I've heard about Google AdWords, but not about Google AdWords Express. And I feel like there's a lot of free tools that are extremely effective that people are not either aware of or not using. Particularly in the Google suite of things, but really, there's so many resources out there for small business owners, and I feel like we just are not aware and maybe don't take the time to kind of look. So let's see. I don't know if you can narrow it down to maybe the top 3.
I got it.
Okay, what are your top 3 services?
So I'm going to give you 3, and I'm going to tell you how they all work together. And one is a smartphone, and another is YouTube, and another is Anchor, and I'll explain how they all work together. So what all small business owners and even mid-size level, basically every company needs to do that has a small marketing team. So whether you're like, a good example is Twice Daily and White Bison is one of our great clients and relationships and friends, and we help them with their digital marketing and their website, and then there's just solo business small business owners that is basically just themselves and maybe a few members of their family that kind of help them out on the side. And regardless of if you're like a mid-level company that has like even 500 to 1,000 employees, but you have like 3 people in your marketing department, or if you're one person business, basically, you need to be using your smartphone to document on a daily or weekly basis some kind of Q&A, frequently asked question that you get asked. You are the subject matter expert of your business, and you need to think about what's the kind of content that I can create to help my target audience. And so when you can take out your smartphone and look into the camera, do a selfie video and say, I'm Paul Hickey, this is the data-driven daily tip, you've got to do that work anyway. Film yourself doing that work. Yeah. And now all of a sudden you have a YouTube show and you have a podcast, because you can take the audio from that podcast, upload it into a platform like Anchor.fm, and now all of a sudden your podcast, Anchor syndicates it to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and you can easily take that RSS feed and put it in more places like an Alexa flash briefing. So I'm glad you asked, because the data shows that when you go from creating, let's say, 1 blog every quarter, which is like a struggle for many small business owners to do, or even like marketing directors to do, to actually doing that weekly and daily, you can basically increase your web traffic by 300 or 400%, which is the best thing you could ever do for your SEO. So the proof is in the data. If you can document yourself on a daily basis, turn it into a podcast and a YouTube show by just videoing yourself on your smartphone, and then transcribe that into a blog and post it on your website. Now you have a blog, a YouTube show, and a podcast, and your SEO is going to skyrocket. So that's the number one thing that all small business owners or mid-level marketers absolutely have to do related to growing their business organically. Okay. It's a lot. People hate me for that, but it's the truth.
No. It makes sense. Hey, Paul. So, just segue into the question I have for you, and that is, this is a shameless plug, but I'm going to say it. We specialize in data strategy for small businesses. What SEO strategies should you take on as a business? Small business doesn't really matter, because what I'm finding is every aspect needs SEO. YouTube needs SEO. Every place, every platform, every social media platform needs some type of SEO as well. I'm noticing there's algorithms for everything. Facebook, LinkedIn, all of them have it. So what would you suggest the strategy or the starting strategy be for all of that? And you mentioned like lumping it all together, like, doing a YouTube channel that like utilizes your podcast or and vice versa. But what are some key tips to create a strategy for all your platforms?
So the number one thing is going to be to try to figure out what are you already doing on a daily basis that you can create content around. And anybody can do it. They just have to kind of experiment with it for a little while and try different things. But whether you're on the business development side of your business and your job is to put together proposals and go to events and meetings and meet people, or whether you're on the tactical implementation side and your job is to take those projects that were sold and execute them, there's a way to create content around anything that anyone's doing in a small business. And when you can figure out what that is, then all of a sudden, all you have to do is create that piece of content one time, and then you can distribute it to all the platforms that you just mentioned. And when you do that, that improves your SEO, because when you have a presence on LinkedIn and you post every day, you're going to be gobsmacked by the amount of profile views and impressions and followers and engagement that you start to get off of that on LinkedIn. On YouTube, when you post every day, you're going to be gobsmacked by the amount of comments on your videos, views, subscribers to your channel, et cetera, et cetera. I could go on about Instagram and IGTV. It's the same thing. It's the same thing on Facebook. And when you put all that together, it helps your overall findability on Google, because Google, if you were to search how to or what is a phrase related to any business, chances are that a YouTube result is going to pop up.
You're right.
When you can unlock that for your business, your SEO is going to skyrocket, and you'll see the proof is in the data, because you'll go to your YouTube channel analytics and you'll see that the views and the comments and the impressions that you're garnering off of those videos will be coming from Google search results. Then you'll go to your Google Analytics, which is your web data, and then that'll say your traffic's coming in from YouTube and from Google, and you'll start to see how it all kind of comes together. So it's pretty sad, but I could go on and on and on. Like, there's platforms I haven't even mentioned, like Medium. So if you're blogging every day and you post it on Medium, you're going to start to see your SEO now will rise, because what will happen is you'll start getting leads in from your website, and the leads will say, I found your article on how to do on Medium. And so you'll be like, oh, well, they didn't even, like, they found me in a Google search result on Medium first, then clicked through to my website. So I guess, I don't know if that answers your question, but that's kind of how it all comes together, and you can see it in all of your analytics on all those different platforms.
Yep. Awesome stuff. Holly, you have any other questions?
Let's see.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I have one question for you guys, but you go first, Holly.
Okay. Well, I was going to say that we can do, I wanted to know what your, let's do top 3 tips for a small business owner who wants to kind of increase their online presence, their reach for their business. What would you say are 3 things that they should definitely do?
like immediately.
Okay, cool. So since I already spoke about like a couple of them, I'll throw out a couple more because there's definitely more, and I definitely think that there's probably a lot of people out there who think I'm crazy for telling everybody to do all this every day, even though it does really work and it's worth it. But when you marry these things together with, or let's just say even if you don't, with a Facebook page promotion. So this is a little bit more palatable for people. So let's say you're a small business and you've got 86 followers and likes on your Facebook business page, or like let's say you don't even have a Facebook business page. You can put $300 a month into what's called a Facebook page promotion, and what that'll do is it'll allow you to actually target people who are in a specific either geographic region or demographics or interest group or all of the above. So in other words, like I am constantly running a Facebook page promotion to people who are in the United States who have the job title Director of Marketing or VP of Marketing and who listen to podcasts. And like those people are getting those people are getting promotions around links that will go directly to a podcast episode of mine. Or I could go interested in Alexa skills, and I can run a Facebook page promotion if I'm a digital agency that's only focusing on Alexa skills. I could do WordPress. So marketing directors in the United States and small business owners in the United States who have WordPress websites, I can run a Facebook page promotion to those people. So taking that equivalent in your vertical as a small business owner and putting maybe $300 to $500 a month behind that, what it's going to do is you'll go from those 86 likes and followers on your page all the way up to thousands over the next couple of years. And probably faster than you could imagine. All of a sudden you'll start feeling good about the fact that when you post frequently on Facebook, I would encourage weekly or every other day or ideally daily on Facebook. When you marry that together, you're going to see people that are qualified to engage with your product or service are now seeing your posts. And that's really going to create a lot of momentum for you for not a lot of money. Another one, honestly, that I haven't talked a whole lot about is, and it depends on what kind of business you are, but I'm really, really high on both IGTV and LinkedIn. So engaging on LinkedIn is like one of the best, even if you're not a B2B business. But if you're B2B, I mean, for sure, like I would spend a ton of time engaging with people on LinkedIn, searching hashtags and keywords that are related to your business, and commenting on the posts of people that are making posts. I picked up I picked up a piece of business the other day off of Twitter because I just decided I haven't been that active on Twitter up until maybe 3 or 4 months ago. And so the other day I went onto Twitter. I just had a minute. And I searched like WordPress help or something like that. and the key is to go to latest. So like if you go to, if you look at like the top, I mean, you're never going to get attention from anyone off of the top post. But when you go to latest, you'll see like that might be somebody who only has 86 followers and or 345 followers. And like if you reply to their tweet or engage with them, they're going to engage back with you. So sure enough, I found someone under the latest tab that said, does anyone know of any WordPress developers? We need help with this specific thing with our blog. And so I replied and I was like, this is exactly what we do. I'm happy to help you out. DM me if you want to line up a call. And like literally within 24 hours, we had like a new contract with a new client in New York. And it was like, and so a lot of times small business owners will be the first people to laugh in my face when it comes to like getting business off of Twitter. But, Twitter, LinkedIn, IGTV, Facebook page promotion, these are things that like you can just do and see what happens. And no other time period in the history of the world could you do something like that other than like,
Exactly.
I don't know, the last 10 or 15 years. So
Yeah. I always say, like, these things right now are free, and we got to take advantage of them before they start charging. You know, like, before
yeah,
Twitter is like, oh, shoot, people are getting contracts from searching hashtags. Let's start, making certain, like, before they start getting any ideas, go out there, check it out, play around, and see what works for you and what doesn't, So, yeah, I totally
yes.
agree with that. Okay, so you had a question, Paul. Go ahead.
Do we have like 3 more minutes? Because I kind of want to tell another story real quick, and then I'll ask you
Yes.
my question.
Go
Okay,
ahead.
thanks. Breaking news, I was banned from Instagram on Sunday.
What?
For 7 days. So by the time this podcast airs, I'll probably be back on Instagram again.
Yeah.
But I'll share with the listeners what happens. So what you want to do on Instagram is you actually want to go in and follow. You want to search phrases that are related to your business. You want to search hashtags that are related to your business, just like I said on Twitter. And then what you want to do is either comment, or what's easier to do is follow those people. And so it's a good strategy to go ahead and follow them and then see what kind of content they post in your feed and everything. This is actually a really good way to legitimately reach out to people on Instagram. Well, what I did on Sunday was it's okay to unfollow people when you don't like their content, right? There's these unfollow strategies that are frowned upon. Like a lot of digital agencies will say, we'll get you Instagram follower growth. And then what they do is they get access to your account and they go follow, unfollow.
Yeah.
And so I had never done that before. I had always paced it out like very well and like legitimately weeded people out when their content just wasn't resonating with me, but I was interacting with people and it was going well. And so after months of doing that, on Sunday, basically what I did was Instagram thought I was unfollowing people way too fast, like in a particular maybe 1 hour period. And I literally got this notification that said, it looks like you've shared your Instagram credentials with a third-party service that is used to grow your following at a rapid rate. And so you're banned until October 20th, 2019. And so I'll tell you what I can post on Instagram stories.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot post, or I can make a post and I can post on Instagram stories. I cannot like anyone's post. I cannot comment on anyone's post, and I cannot follow or unfollow anyone for right now. And so it is like but the reason I brought up that story is because of what you just said, Holly. You said you have to go try things. You have to try things. And so the number one thing that I do, and granted it's easier for me because it's my business, but I try everything with digital marketing. And so if you're a realtor, if you're an accountant, if you're any kind of small business owner, whatever your business is, you have to get on these platforms and you have to try everything, even if you get banned from Instagram, because then you're gonna go back 7 days later and you're gonna kill it.
And you know what they are? They're kind of cracking down on like the whole fake follower situation, and we need to have a conversation. And we may need to do another episode because I want to talk to you about all the changes that are happening on social media. Because Instagram is starting to roll out the whole like no likes thing.
Mm-hmm.
Is that like and there's kind of been like a lot of chatter about that, because when you're talking about the influencers and people who are making their money via Instagram, the likes that's kind of how they're saying, hey, I have this much engagement, or hey, I have this, and how they're proving value, and so it was kind of a lot of chatter about that, and Instagram taking away likes and all this stuff. So I don't know, we may have to do a whole nother thing about, because there's so much going on in the social media space, and there's so much for small business owners to take advantage of. So I do want to get into that, but okay, we kind of have to wrap up this episode. So okay, you had your question.
So my question is a little bit self-serving, but I had not heard your data point earlier ever until you said 40% of small businesses don't have a website?
Yeah, it was like 45% of small businesses do not have a website.
So my question is, how do we partner up to get a list of those small businesses that don't have websites.
Well, you know,
and then we reach out to them so that we can provide services to them that they need.
Well, you know, it's kind of hard to find them because they don't have websites.
Fair enough.
But we will say this, in our networking and how we go across finding small business by outreach, we have lists and names because of that. You know, we do, and this is a small plug as well, data diversity. We do lots of things that allow people to actually be able to find us other than just on, you know, social media. So with that, in that staggering statistic, we're trying to promote, like this podcast, for example, helps promote people to be aware that you need a website and you need SEO and all of these wonderful things that most people do not know that they need. And again, another staggering statistic that we talked about, it used to be 75%, but 99% of all like revenue is from small businesses. And so that other 1% is typically Google, you know, all of these different, you know, big companies, Amazon, blah, blah, blah. So with that, we're struggling here. If you don't have a website and 99% of our revenue stream for this country is in small businesses, what is that telling us, Paul? So we are really on a mission and a hunt, if you will, to get everybody up and acclimated. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I'm so glad that we found each other, and we're gonna team up moving forward to help small businesses. And you guys do great work, and I'm just looking forward to continuing the conversation. So anytime you want to talk or have me back on, and I want to have you guys on my podcast to break down what you all do as data scientists and that sort of thing, and how that's different from what we do. I think a lot of people, especially small businesses, will look at data and think, you know, they might be intimidated by it. So thanks for having me on to kind of break down what we do, and hopefully this will be helpful to the listeners.
Yes. Well, thank you, Paul. Thanks so much for that. We're going to wrap it up now. So, Lena, if you want to go ahead and do that part.
Well, basically, I'm just going to ask for our tags.
Okay, well then it's me again. Hello. As we talked about with Paul, we are on a lot of different platforms. We want to talk to you, we want to connect with you, and we want your feedback. So on Twitter, we are at Rachel Winfree. On Instagram, Rachel and Winfree LLC. LinkedIn, Rachel and Winfree Consulting. We are on YouTube. We're on Facebook. I think we're even on Snapchat. Lena's in charge of that one. But yeah, we want to hear from you. So please do follow us or friend us or connect with us, and let us know what you think and what struggles you're facing as a small business owner. Also, we have, Lena mentioned the Data Diversity Meetup group. We meet once a month. We are in the Nashville area, but we do stream. And our group is a LinkedIn-based group, so you can join Data Diversity via LinkedIn groups. And we basically are going over different topics that are related to data as it affects small business owners, small mid-sized business owners. And so we'd love to have you join us there. We want to hear from you. And if you are not already subscribed, please do subscribe to this podcast and share it with others. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. And we hope to be with you again next week.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.